Greetings to all Pokemon manga fans. Welcome to the Pokemon Canon podcast, where we will discuss and analyze the Pokemon Manga Series, which chronicles the adventures of Trainer Red as he journeys across the region of Kanto to become a stronger Pokemon trainer. On his adventure, Red catches Pokemon, collects gym badges, makes allies and enemies. Join us as we take a closer look at the overlooked origin story of Trainer Red and his Pokemon adventure. I am your host, Sir Serrato.
Hi, I'm Daramu.
How's it going? It's Fleur.
All right. So here we go. How is everybody doing today?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So
Excited to go into this chapter.
I'm excited to go into this episode because we're introducing a few new segments that we couldn't do in the first one. So that's one thing that I'm kind of just excited about for this one. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the brief chapter TV guide synopsis. So the one that I have for this one is, and of course, you guys always let me know what you guys think about this one. The TV guide synopsis for this episode would be: a friendly interaction becomes a competitive opportunity between Trainer Red and Trainer Green as a wild Kangaskhan becomes the subject of their rivalry. That would be my TV guide synopsis. What do you guys think?
Really good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty apt.
Pretty out? Okay.
Pretty apt. Yeah.
Pretty apt? Okay. Yeah, it's like we were saying earlier, this chapter is very small. There's not really a lot there, but I like how they still were able to get a decent story, in my opinion. So this is the segment that we're going to be introducing, and I know that you guys are going to enjoy this because I'm the one that has to be the first one to do it. But of course, eventually we'll get to the point where we'll be rotating. Now,
Okay.
I know Fleur was a fan of Digimon. I'm not sure if Daramu was a fan of Digimon. Did you?
Oh, first, let's go.
Digimon, I honestly did not really watch a lot of Digimon. Like, I got enough to where I realized I liked Ty's goggles, so I thought that was my personality for a while,
Oh,
and that's where I stopped. So Digimon did not grow up with me.
Well, the thing about Digimon is the way that it was presented was it was very comedic. And it's something that when I was watching it as a kid, I never really caught on. But as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, this is very comedic. There's a lot of jokes that they put in there. And I know that in Japan, the show is a lot darker. In America, they made it a little bit more lighthearted. And so one of the things about Digimon, starting with their second episode, is they do an episode recap. And I sent you guys a video a few days ago of a recap of one of the episodes, just to kind of show you like how it works. And basically, it's like, let's say the episode was about Ty and I don't know, his adventure where he had to make his crest of courage glow. In the following episode, he would do the recap as the character of Ty, kind of like explaining to the audience, like, here's what you missed on Digimon, you know. So the segment that we're gonna add to this is called Pokemon Are the Champions recap, a reference to Digimon Are the Champions. So basically, we'll be rotating as a character from the show or from the series doing an episode recap. So don't worry, you guys aren't doing one for this episode. This will be something we'll do later on. So I will be doing this one, and I'm doing the recap from the first episode as Trainer Red. All right. Are you guys there?
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, so here we go. And I'm channeling the best Red I can do for this one. So don't laugh too hard. There I was trying to catch this strange Pokemon when my underestimated confidence caused my Poliwhirl to lose my very first Pokemon battle ever. After talking to a group of kids, I learned of this great Pokemon professor who could help me become a better Pokemon trainer. Not that I really need it. But either way, I decided to search for him. When I showed up to his lab, I accidentally freed all of his Pokemon from their Pokeballs. Professor Oak showed up and accused me of being a Pokemon thief. Can you believe that? Me, the best Pokemon trainer in the world. He must have had me confused with one of those strange guys wearing all black clothes with a large R on their shirts. I decided to prove my innocence by helping him retrieve all of his Pokemon. The exploration led to a wild encounter with a terrifying Machoke and a terrified Bulbasaur. Using my extreme intellect, I was able to masterfully figure out how to use the sun's light to energize the bulb on Bulbasaur's back, to have it successfully defeat Machoke. After the incident, Professor Oak let me keep the Bulbasaur because he saw how great I am with Pokemon. Now I am on a quest to become the greatest Pokemon trainer of all time, which for me is only a minor improvement. Here we go.
Yeah. Good.
I was like, I have no way to say whether it was or wasn't. So it sounds good to me.
Yeah, so now we're doing the story walkthrough, the detailed analysis of the chapters in the storyline. So here we go. So chapter 3 is The Secret of Kangaskhan. We open up in a scene with Trainer Red along with his two Pokemon, Bulbasaur and Poliwhirl, as they are starting their adventure. As they're starting their adventure, we see the Viridian Forest, where we see a very zen trainer rival with his Charmander, and it looks like he's waiting for something, but it's kind of like this very tense moment where he's just quiet, he's not saying anything. It's almost like he's just detecting what's happening around him. Finally, he shouts for his Charmander to attack. Charmander attacks the like a bush, and out of the bush, we see a Venomoth fall out. The rival pulls out his Pokedex, and in the Pokedex, we see the description of the Pokemon that he defeated, which is a Venomoth. He ends up capturing the Pokemon, which I'm assuming because they don't actually show him throw a Pokeball, but the Pokedex entry is there. So if they're following the game logic from the video games, then yes, he caught the Pokemon. After this, we see a very foolish Trainer Red as he somehow let a Caterpie get away from him. He wasn't able to capture it. He sends out his Poliwhirl to go attack. He's very confident about Poliwhirl attacking this Caterpie. And wouldn't you know it, the second episode, second time that we see poor Poliwhirl get his ass kicked. This Pokemon just constantly gets his ass kicked. So Red jumps out and he's crying for Poliwhirl. When he turns around, he sees a Charmander and he's upset by this. So when we see the rival standing there, the rival, instead of sympathizing or saying like I'm sorry or whatever, he just starts laughing like, oh, I can't believe that this Poliwhirl has a trainer. It's so pathetic. There's that cockiness that we talked about previously. Trainer Red, being this foolish character, decides to sucker punch the rival, but the rival does this block at the punch where he stops him. And after that, Trainer Red looks at him closely and he realizes, oh, you're that guy from the Mew incident. Now, they don't actually name Mew, but we know what he's referring to.
Yeah.
After this, they're in the Viridian Forest, and it turns out that the rival was hunting down a very specific Pokemon. It was a Kangaskhan. So in the animation or the artwork in this one, they kind of make Kangaskhan look huge, like a giant Pokemon, which we know that what are they called in Generation 8 when they're really big? And the ones that
Dynamaxing?
Dynamaxing, yeah. It's not because I get it confused with the other ones, like Gigantamaxing.
Yeah, Gigantamaxing is the physical form changes, whereas Dynamaxing is just they've become larger and stronger.
So this one kind of looks like a Dynamax Kangaskhan. It's really, really large. Are you guys looking at the image right now? Because it looks very large to me. It almost looks like it's branching over the trees. And so I love this image here where we see this giant Kangaskhan because Trainer Red has like this look of shock and fear in his face, but yet the rival has like this, here we go, look on his face. And I like when they do that. I like when they show the contrast between two characters, and this image just kind of like sums them up for me. So then the rival decides to attack because he's been waiting for this Pokemon, apparently. He sends his Charmander out into battle. Charmander sends an attack. As this is happening, uh Trainer, the rival pulls out his Pokedex to get a reading on the Kangaskhan. At this point, Trainer Red pulls his out and he's like, "Hey, you're a Pokemon trainer too. That's so cool. We're like friends." And the rival just has this hilarious moment where he just busts out laughing like a total douche. And he's like, "Oh, you're the guy that my grandfather asked to join. That's so funny." It's just, he's just being a jerk. I've called him before, cockeyvoice.com. He's just a jerk. And I love it. I love what a jerk he is to him. He's just laughing, and he's living for this hilarious twist of events. Red is like, "Oh, so that's your grandfather. You must be his protege or his grandson." And the rival's just like, "Anyways, back to what I was doing." So he tries to continue his battle with the Kangaskhan. He launches a very powerful fire attack, which looks like it's possibly like a fire spin. I like how in the animation it kind of looks like a fire spin. Do you guys see that?
Yeah, it definitely has like a circular motion to it. It's not like the first time you saw him.
Yeah, there is a difference here. So I think it's a fire spin. And one cool thing about the mangas, if you guys notice, they rarely call out attack names, if you've noticed that. Usually it's kind of like do your thing, and the Pokemon seem to be a little more independent in a way. But yeah,
Yeah.
they just kind of go in and just do their thing. And so as he's battling this Kangaskhan, the rival prepares his Pokeball and he tosses the Pokeball to capture this Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan, of course, does this arm gesture where he hits the Pokeball and the Pokeball reflects. So the rival sends out continuous Pokeballs, and every single one is failing. He's not able to capture this Kangaskhan. At this moment, it's where it's where red kind of notices something. It's strong enough to reflect the attacks. So what's going on here? I mean, it looks like it's hurt or like it's weak, but it's not really hurt. At this moment, he notices the little pouch, and that's where he realizes, oh, there's something in there. So in a desperate cry for help, he tries to stop the rival from attacking. The rival's just like, "What are you doing? This is my capture. This is my moment. Go away. This is my Pokemon, and I'm gonna, defeat it with Charmander and capture it." Red stops him and says, "Oh, like the hell you are." So he sends in his Poliwhirl and does like the one good thing that I'm like, okay, he finally did something logical here. He sends out a water Pokemon to take down Charmander, which of course the rival just gets really, really angry at this. He's so just furious about this. That's when Red runs over to the Kangaskhan and he pulls out the baby Pokemon. He's like, "There's something in there." And sure enough, it's a cute little baby Kangaskhan. As we see this cute little Pokemon, we learn that it was actually poisoned. And that is the reason why Kangaskhan was fighting the way it was. It was strong enough to fight, but it had to protect its injured baby. So Red goes over and he pulls out a potion, which I like how the animation of this potion is different because in the video games it's like a little bottle, and here it's a syringe. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
It's like straight up a syringe, so he's like actually
Yeah.
injecting this little Pokemon. And I like this image here where Red is kind of petting the baby Kangaskhan. I like the look on the rival's face. It's almost like he still can't stand him, but he has a newfound respect for him, which I like that so early on. This is chapter 3, episode 2, and we're already getting a little bit of development for these two characters. After that, Red just has this really sweet moment where he's like, "You were protecting your wounded baby. That's why you weren't battling us." And Kangaskhan just gives his kind of like nod, like, "Yes, thank you for helping." And he just walks away. After this, of course, the rival is just furious, like, "Ugh, you're pathetic. You made me lose that battle. I could have caught that Pokemon if you weren't here." And I like how Red just kind of says to him, like, "Oh, come on. It was an injured Pokemon. There's no real sport in that." So the rival's just angry here. And he's like, "Save your pity talk or whatever." And Red's just so excited. I like that he's just unfazed. Like, "Yeah, you're a jerk, but you're cool. I like you. Let's be friends." And the rival's like, "No, we're not friends." And he's just like, "My name is Red, and what's your name? What's your name? What's your name?" Like it's just nonstop. And finally, the rival's like, "My name is Blue. Now shut up already and leave me alone." He's just so angry. But it just kind of sets the tone of their relationship. And after this, it's sort of like Red decides, well, me and the rival are gonna end up just having this rivalry, but we're gonna be somewhat civil. You're not that bad, actually. So they both part ways. And I really like this visual here. But before I get to that part, we see that Professor Oak was watching them, and I like how he refers to them as my grandson and my new protege. I just love that so much. And then there's this really, really good visual that we see of Red and the rival kind of like walking um their separate paths. And I like how even the animation of their body language kind of sums up who they are. The rival is just chill and confident, and Red is just very kind of like childish and playful. At the end of the chapter, the characters set off on their adventure, and that concludes the second episode. There we go. All right. So, what did you guys think about this episode?
It was very what I would say, like for Red, it reminds me a lot of just the anime itself. It gives you that Ash feeling with Gary, you know. It kind of felt like that when he was very protective of the Kangaskhan and the baby. It took into consideration its feelings before um, him as a Pokemon master. Instead of catching it, he was like, "No, let me just save the baby and let it go about its way." So this episode really had like a really ass Ketchum kind of feeling to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I did get a sense of I did see a lot of Ash and Gary in this one. Definitely. I do kind of see that.
One of the things that I was kind of focused on was the rival himself. Because remember the first one, I was like, I don't really think he's a jerk. I think these are things that he thinks are teachable moments. This one, he definitely came off as a jerk. And
Ah,
yeah, so I was like, because I haven't read ahead. I don't like this is my first time going through this. So like as I was reading, it's like, no, dude, like you're kind of being a jerk this time. And the first time I would have stuck up for him that first one, but after this, like, no, like it's kind of rude. So that was the first thing I noticed. And then I'm sure we'll talk about it in a moment, but like comparing it to the game, like I've got my own things that I noticed.
yeah, you really what I really like about this chapter is you honestly get a really good sense of who each one of these two characters are. Yes, we said it's a very short chapter. By our standards, it's a very, very quick read. It was like what, 9, 11 pages? But I feel that it was still done to where we knew exactly who Red is. We know exactly who the rival is. We know who these characters are now. And just kind of like putting it in a perspective where we know that they're not exactly friends, they're not exactly rivals, there's respect between them. Um, I just kind of feel like at this point they both know that the other is a worthy adversary. They just don't want to admit it because, egos.
Yeah.
Um, just it almost felt like a lot of TV shows they do this thing. I forgot the proper term for it. It's when the whole episode takes place like in one room or one setting. Like Friends, for example, they had the episode with the one where no one's ready, where all the characters are getting
Yeah.
ready for this event for Ross, and the whole entire episode takes place in the apartment from start to finish, except for like the closing
Mm,
credit scene. And I kind of feel like this one was that. And the good thing about that is that episodes like those tend to be very character driven. So this one, I feel, was a very character driven episode. It was a very good representation of these two characters. If you guys want to add or say anything.
Oh no, 100%. Because like it was literally just those two. It was literally just the one interaction. So you got to see how, Red was just going about his day, how the rival interacted to anyone interacting with him throughout the day. Like it was just really cool to see how both of them were in this one.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you wanted to add, Fleur?
no, not at the moment.
No. Um, and also I know we talked about this, but to me it was just kind of funny how in this one, just that we see like a syringe for the potion. I thought was very, very funny. Only because I don't think we ever see a syringe in the games, do we?
No, everything comes to like in a little bottle or like something you can eat, but never like a
The
syringe.
closest you would get would be like a full heal, but like eventually they did make those to just like bottles, but like they had like the little like round tip syringe ones, I believe, at one point. But yeah, you don't ever actually see like an actual needle or anything.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like where we had this conversation for the first episode where our perception of the Pokeballs changed because the anime never really clarifies what the Pokeballs are. We know that they become like an air type substance inside the Pokeball. I always like to believe that that fan art where they make the Pokeballs look like these really amazing habitats for the Pokemon, I like to believe that that's really how it is. But the manga shows the dark reality. No, they're trapped in these little transparent top balls where it's like an inch between them and the surface. So they're trapped in there. And then now we get this dark realization that the potion is a freaking syringe. We're poking them
Mm,
every time they're losing a battle. So it's like this colorful, happy go lucky world that we are so accustomed to in the cartoon series and the video games and the fan art. That's not reality. In the manga series, it's darker. They're
mhm.
imprisoned in these balls, and you better fight for me. And if you don't fight for me, I'm gonna poke you with this potion. So, that's something that to me was just very, very dark when I was reading these for the first time. Like, my God, these are just it's not as happy and magical as I thought it was gonna be. It's a lot darker. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah, for
I
sure.
hate and I love it. So that was the the thing about that. Um, I don't know if you guys had any like insights or anything you wanted to add to that.
Not to that specifically, but like, of course, reading it, because my whole thing with Pokemon, like I didn't really watch the cartoon, but I did play the games a lot. A couple things that I noticed, again, kind of like from the first episode, the power creep. Like when I start thinking about Viridian Forest and that there's a Kangaskhan in Viridian Forest,
Mhm.
uh, normally you only get Kangaskhan at the Safari Zone, and Kangaskhan is what, level 33 max if you get
Yeah.
lucky. Normally it's anywhere between 25 to 28. So I was like, the Viridian Forest is wild. And then there's a Venom Moth in there. So like things that you would normally find way later in the game are just chilling in the starting zone like
Mm,
nothing. Um, so
Yeah, yeah,
that's the main thing that I noticed with it.
I did think that was kind of weird too. As soon as I saw that there was a Kangaskhan, I was like, this is a Pokemon that you don't see until like deep in the game. But of course,
Yeah.
these are in this universe, they're living creatures, so they would have the ability to kind of like migrate. But it was a shocking thing to see. Um,
Yeah, even the Venomoth, like, okay, so the Venomoth kind of got me thinking because there's like this long-standing fan theory that Caterpie was supposed to evolve into Venomoth.
Oh, and I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, and it's like likewise, like Venonat was supposed to evolve into Butterfree, and so like to see a Venomoth there, I was like, oh, cool. So this is probably where the fan theory came in. But then I read the Pokedex entry, and it literally says evolves from Venonat. So I was like, okay.
It does say that, and it's funny that you bring that up, like talk about this, because I kind of believe that theory. Because like
Oh, 100%. Like even if you look at Metapod like makes perfect sense to evolve into Venomoth because it even has the little spike things that Venomoth has on his head. Whereas Butterfree, like Butterfree and Venonat both have like the same eyes, the same nose, the same whiskers. Like it it looks like a natural progression. So when I saw the Venomoth, I was like, oh wow. So like it kind of makes sense why people think this, but yeah.
I mean, look at this right here. Look at those. They both
100%.
they have little feet. Their hands are even in the same position. Their mouths, they have like that nose with the two teeth. Their eyes are red. They have those two antenna things. They're purple. Okay. I mean, this is something that it makes a lot of sense. And then when you look at Caterpie and you look at the Venomoth, even the eyes, it's got that round, kind of like dark pupil. The body itself, these hands right here, Caterpie has the same, I mean, not the same ones, but it makes sense that it would evolve into that. And then kind of like just the body itself, you know. So, and the head, like, I don't know what you would call this, but this makes sense as
Just
to
the antennas.
Is it the antennas?
Yeah, I think so. Like it just made sense. And so like when I saw him in there, I was really excited because like I never really got how the fanboys like got to that point, but I was like, okay, it's kind of cool. I see it.
See, but okay, so the reason that I was going to bring that up for this podcast is because yes, you do see a Venomoth, but just moments before you see the Venomoth, Trainer Red, oh no, or moments after, Trainer Red was trying to catch a Caterpie.
Yeah.
Which goes to show that apparently Venomoth and Caterpie in this part of the game are caught in the same area.
Yeah, and like I said, that's just it's crazy to think about because like Venomoth, I think, is also in the Safari Zone. So yeah, like it's just crazy because everything in the Safari Zone is like level 30 and up, or like level 25 and up, and everything like the highest level thing that you can find in Viridian Forest is like a level 9 Pidgeotto in Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah.
Everything else is like at the highest level 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Searched for it.
Yeah.
Level 3 or 4. So
but yeah, so no, that Pokemon theory, I definitely have kept up with that. And no, I do believe that it's a very possible one. If they ever were to release that, yeah, that was the initial intent, I would not be surprised. Now,
yeah.
Have you heard the theory as to why they made the change?
No.
I mean, most of the changes they made were based off of how well received certain things would be at certain points. So that's how come like a lot of the starters, there's not a whole lot of detail in a lot of the starters because they want you to be able to put yourself in that position where it's like, oh, well, it's going to have my personality. Whereas like if you have a Mankey, Mankeys are always angry. So it's hard to be like, oh, well, I can't really see myself with that. So if it's something along those lines, I would imagine that they decided not to put a Venomoth in there because the design is a little bit more complex, especially if you're looking at the original 2D or yeah, the original sprites for the first game. Although Butterfree's was pretty crazy also, but I don't know. I think a butterfly is a lot less intimidating than a moth, so that's probably why they made that decision.
So the theory that I heard is that, and I haven't fact checked this, but the one that I heard is that the reason why they changed it was because the Pokemon anime was being planned along with the manga, along with the games. Everything was being planned together. It was always planned that the first Pokemon that Ash would ever capture would be the one he was going to release. And so they just felt that physically a Butterfree is a lot cuter and it would be easier for children to develop an attachment to Butterfree as opposed to Venomoth, who's not that cute. So the theory I heard that it was done because if he would have released a Venomoth, I mean, yeah, we would still be upset about it, but just the fact that Butterfree was so adorable, that was the reason why they made that change, because they wanted that episode to truly be impactful. Now, supposedly, what they could have done is just swap out Caterpie for Venonat, but I guess they just really wanted that scene where Pikachu and Caterpie are talking to each other to the moonlight. Because I mean,
Mhm.
as much as I dislike the anime series, I do love that scene. It's a very beautiful scene. How you don't even know what they're saying, but yet you know exactly what they're saying. You know what I mean? It's a very, you understand so well what's going on in that scene. And so that's the theory that I heard, that that was the reason for that change. Now, whether or not that's canon, I can't confirm, despite our podcast name, but that is what I've heard, that
Mhm.
that's the reason as to why they did that. So that is an unofficial Pokemon canon theory that I heard.
Mm.
So yeah, that was one of them.
Well, it's like everybody's like, well, they should have done it in the first place, you know? Like, yes, when they were first putting this stuff out, they thought of, you know, the best way to sell it, but now everybody's arguing like, no, like y'all did the incorrect evolution for these Pokemon. Like,
I mean, because it just goes to show. I heard this thing that if you were to show someone who knows nothing about Pokemon and just show them those 5 Pokemon, Caterpie,
yeah.
Metapod, Butterfree, Venonat, and Venomoth, and you were to ask them, there are 2 evolutionary lines, who evolves into who, like 100% of them would say, oh, Venonat into Butterfree, and then this worm into that moth thing, you know? And
Mhm.
yeah, because if I were to see those just by looking at those, I would say, well, yeah, that makes sense. It's what they look like. So it's,
Yeah.
I don't know so much, like, if the theory is true, I don't know so much if it's a missed opportunity or if it's just one of those unexplained mysteries that just happens to work, you know? Like
Yeah.
like the Spice Girls movie, it was so bad, but we all loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a missed opportunity because I mean, even playing the game, my first team had a Butterfree. So
Mm.
like, you know, and I loved it and everything. So it's like I wouldn't say it's a missed opportunity, but looking back at it now, would I have preferred the other way? Probably, because they essentially have the same move pool anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's like hurts the game one way or the other. I would
Well,
have loved Venomoth just as much as I like Butterfree.
Butterfree was on my Pokemon Yellow team because when I battled Brock, first of all, anyone who's ever played Yellow will tell you that Brock is like nearly impossible to beat. And the way that
Doesn't Yellow give you a Mankey on like Viridian route, the Viridian
they
route?
do give
Yeah.
you Mankey, but
And then Nidoran also has double kick.
it
I'm gonna
does.
disagree with you on this one.
So it's nearly impossible if you're playing it with a Pikachu. And like me personally, it doesn't matter what Pokemon game it is. I like to use my starter for the first gym battle at least. So when I
Yeah.
played Yellow, and of course we didn't know that much about the type matchups at the time. We were just kids. I struggled so much beating Brock. I was able to beat him with Butterfree knowing confusion. So
Mm.
yeah, so because as soon as Metapod evolves into Butterfree at level 10, it learns confusion. So I had when I went to go battle Brock, I had a Pikachu and a Butterfree, just those two. And with Butterfree, I beat him with confusion. So ever since then, Butterfree was like one of my favorites because he was just so good in Yellow.
Well, very brave of you to only take 2 Pokemon. One like has nothing, like that rock does nothing to, you know, like with the Pikachu
Yeah.
and a level 10 Butterfree.
Yeah,
Because
like I said, I agree with you on that one because my first playthrough, I went in with 6 Pokemon, and
Yeah.
I don't remember what happened, but like I remember my first playthrough, I ended up like getting to Onyx, and Onyx started messing me up. So I was like, all right, let's go. So I sent in Pidgey, 6 Sand attacks, I sent in Rattata, 6 Tail Whips, and then I don't remember what happened, but some like I don't know.
no,
Well,
I have a lot of people know that I'm very OCD when it comes to playing Pokemon games. I will look up how many Pokemon the gym trainer has, and I will only walk in with that number of Pokemon. But
Oh,
that's something I do because, like, for example, if I battle Lieutenant Surge, and he has a Raichu and I have a full 6 of team and I beat him, I don't feel it's a real victory. But that's just me. That's just me talking. I have to like if I'm battling Whitney on Gen 2, I'm like, okay, I need 2 Pokemon. I'm gonna leave 4 of them in the PC and walk in with 2. That's the only way it'll feel like a real battle and it'll be a satisfying victory. I know people are like, why do you do this? I'm like, because the games are too easy. I like to make them a little bit more challenging. So
I was gonna say you gave yourself Nuzlocke rules before Nuzlocke was a thing.
I did. I did. I started that. I started all these trends. So I just yeah. So yeah, that's what I do. So
I like the only time that I feel like I had the hardest time beating a gym leader was Jasmine. She was the electrical gym leader. All she had was electrical Pokemon, and she had man,
Gen 2?
I believe so.
No, she
But
had
she
Steel type.
was this no, yes, Steel type. But she also had yes, because she had a Steelix. But then she also had was it her that had the Empress?
She had it, yes, she did, but that was part of the
Yeah.
no, because Generation 2, all 8 gyms were completely different gym types than Generation 1. That's how I know that, 'cause I'm like, no, we had Lieutenant Surgeon 1, so Gen 2 had difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so with her, like the Steelix, oh my God. And of course, being a little kid, of course, there's not like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna take this Pokemon to battle against this one for the counterattacks or whatever, you know? So
Yeah.
I just getting so frustrated because I would take all 6 Pokemon because I think she only had like 4, but the Steelix was the hardest one to beat. Like
But
it was just
It was pretty tough for that time. Like she definitely had a power creep moment also. Like I think it was at a point where you're expecting a certain level and she was a little bit higher level also. So even if you
this,
were prepared for it,
you weren't prepared. Even if you were prepared, you weren't prepared. She had very Cynthia vibes, you
yeah.
know, for her generation.
Yeah.
but this was also in Generation 2 before we really had a lot of internet access. So Steel type Pokemon to us were a new concept. We didn't know how to battle it. So yeah, that's why that one was a tough one because we were like, well, what the hell beats Steel? You know, the only reason I knew that Fire beats Steel was because I think they mentioned it in one of the episodes. So I was like, oh, okay, so that's what I use. But other than that, there was really no way to know unless you had like the Pokemon Stadium with the little chart guide or
Mm-hmm.
were on Google. But computers just were not that common back then. Nobody
Yeah.
had a computer unless they were like really wealthy or you were at a library or something. It wasn't something. So no, that was a tough one for me too. Um, but yeah, that's how I felt about that one. Um, so did anyone want to add anything else before we move on to the next section?
Let me look through my notes real quick. I think that was about it for me because everything else I have is for the next chapter. I mean, the only yeah, that I think that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same.
All right, so now we're moving on to fun trivia. Now I only have one trivia for this one. So the image of the Venomoth in the Pokedex is actually, which you guys know, that's the sprite from the blue and the red games, but it's flipped, if you guys noticed it.
Yeah.
You noticed it?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I played the first ones a lot. So,
Yeah.
like, even when I saw like little Pokedex information on it, I was like, okay, let me download this image and zoom in because I'm curious.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it was, I mean, I guess if anything, it was mirrored, but yeah, it was the image from the games, but it was flipped. So that was the only trivia that I
Yeah.
had for this one. So the next section, we're moving on to the funniest, cringiest, and best moments. Where you guys can point out a moment you just like a standout moment. I'll go first. For me, the funniest.
Can I go first? I really want to go first.
Do we have the same one?
I don't think we do.
Probably.
right.
That's why first.
All right, go first. Go first.
Okay, so on the panel, I'm looking for it right now. The panel where okay, so the panel just before the giant Kangaskhan comes up, and they're both like looking at each other face to face. Have y'all watched Naruto before?
I've seen
have a
an
couple.
episode here and there.
Okay, so when they're right there, I couldn't help but have this moment of like, and this is my like flagship in my head. I was like, now kiss, and I just wanted to push their faces together. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Wait,
like,
are
you
you
know,
talking? Are you talking about where he goes to sucker punch him and they're like face to face?
And he's holding his hand, and I was like,
oh my god. No. Okay, so the same thing happens with Digimon fans. There is a huge fandom for Ty and Matt, and they have like one of the and you know, we're LGBT friendly. They have one of the gayest relationships I've ever seen in any series, because there's even this scene where there's a prophecy that has to be fulfilled, where the angels will shoot arrows from the sky or whatever. So that's two Digimon who shoot arrows at them. So as they're preparing to take these arrows, I think it's Matt who's like, "Here, let me hold your hand just so you're not afraid," or something. and
Yeah.
they still, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what's
Yeah.
So they're holding
Yes.
hands, and it's like every time I see them holding hands, I just picture that meme where it's like is it like a sea lion that's just going gay.
Oh, I know exactly.
Every time when I binge watch Digimon and they get to that scene, I'm like, gay. But if you watch Digimon, Ty and Matt are so gay. Like, oh my god, they're so gay. I almost ship them, almost. But yeah.
Well, that one panel, like just with him holding his hand, I was like, okay, I could see it. Oh, we'll just see where this goes.
I can see it too. I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, there's just so much sexual tension in that. So, full disclosure, so people won't complain about this. Yes, we know that they're 10-year-olds, but you know what? So were we when we first discovered these characters. The same way that, like, when I talk about these characters, I don't see them as 10-year-olds, because especially when I've seen them growing up in like the Alola region, to me,
They do a lot of stuff girls would never do.
You saw them in Alola, right? Where they were when they were on their honeymoon. They had such a fan base during that. They were like, oh, they're on their honeymoon, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that. Definitely see that. Okay, we didn't have the same one. Fleur, do you want to hear it?
Yes. Okay, so right after that one, it's the one where it's literally like the next page, where the Kangaskhan does come out, and it like the Charmander is I guess using flamethrower or whatever he's using. Fire. So that little like the rival, and he's just like right behind the Charmander. He's so small, and at first when I was just scrolling through, I had to like zoom in because his little hand, right? So he's like pointing. And I don't know why, as I was scrolling, I thought that the flame on Charmander's tail was his other hand. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with that one? You know?
He's like this.
Exactly.
Okay, see, you guys laughed at me or questioned it when I was confused by Team Rocket's face. Remember that I was like, what the fuck is that? Okay, it happened to you this time. Yeah.
I know.
See, now I can't unsee that. That is pretty funny. I see it now.
I mean, if you look really close at it, it's like he's doing one of these numbers.
Exactly. And that's what I thought. Like, why is he doing this? Like, that makes no sense.
He's like,
yeah, it's Charmander, go.
He's just so sexually attracted to Red. He like, I want him to know that I'm down for it if it comes down to it. So he like snaps it.
Exactly.
I mean, if you want it, you know. My favorite moment, honestly, it's when the rival realizes that Red is his nemesis or rival or whatever. Just his reaction just cracks me up. Just the way he's laughing and
Pokédex, that part.
You're breaking up.
That part where he's like, oh, you also have a Pokédex?
Yes, and he's just laughing. I just look at that image. I want you guys to look at that. I love the fact that Red is kind of like he's throwing a tantrum, like he's so like respect me, and the rival's
Mhm.
just like laughing, like like I almost picture if this were in the cartoon series, I almost picture Red talking, and like as he's talking, you just hear him laughing, like the laughing is overpowering the talk. I just love it. I love cocky characters like that, and I love how this one is just such a douchebag. But I
Yeah.
love him. He's just so funny. But yeah, that was my favorite moment from the entire
Well,
thing.
I was gonna go with that one too. That was like the second one that came to mind. One of the reasons I didn't was because like the part that really got me. So as they're holding their Pokédex in their hands, right? Like the Pokédex normally in the anime series, like on the cartoons or whatever, or on the cartoons, their Pokédex are kind of small, kind of like just to fit in the palm of your hand, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then look at, if you look at the manga, it's very at this chapter, like their hands look like little toddler hands, and then they have like this big ass box, like
Yeah.
you know.
These are like Gen 1 cell phones to them.
No, I see. It's almost like a tablet. Like it's freaking huge on
Yeah,
them.
exactly. Yeah, but
Right?
it's like handheld. Like, you can't
Is
just put that in your pocket.
Bro, what's the Viridian Forest Wi-Fi?
right. Um. All right. So now we're moving on to the next section, which is actually my favorite section. It's the titles. Hopefully, you guys prepped for this one. So we're gonna start with Harry Potter titles.
Okay.
If this was a Harry Potter movie, I would title this one Trainer Red and the Pokemon Potion.
Mm,
Uh,
The
okay.
Pokemon what?
Pokemon Potion.
Okay.
What would you guys do for this one?
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be Trainer Red. You can do Trainer, if you want to call him Blue, you can call him Blue. If you want to do Kangaskhan, and like you can do any character and the. Doesn't have to be red. It's just whatever you guys want to do.
I don't know. Probably something along the lines of like Trainer Red and the Mystery Mother.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I like
You
that.
don't know she's a mother until the end of it, so
Mhm.
Trainer Red and the Mystery Mother. I like how both of our titles pretty much give away the ending.
yeah. Well,
Both of them, they're both like big spoilers. Fleur?
I'm trying to think. This one's a hard one
Yeah.
because I feel like last week I kind of just, gave a good one. So
What was it
this,
last week?
well, I mean, not last week. Well,
the
not
last
last week.
one.
The last episode, yeah.
I
Yeah.
gave like a good one, so I've got to keep my expectations at kind of the same level.
Yeah.
So,
If you
oh,
can't if you can't think of anything, it's fine. But if you can, just like if you feel like you just can't, we'll just skip it to the next one.
I think I'm gonna have to pass on this one.
Skip one? Okay, no problem. Now we're gonna do Friends title episodes. They always start with the one with or the one where. An
Hmm.
example would be the one where no one's ready. So for this one, I would call it the one with the sick Pokemon.
Okay. Um, I'm sorry. I would say something along the lines of the one with that dick in the forest.
Well, mystery.
I mean, between all my titles, it's going to give away this whole chapter. So,
The one with that dick in the forest. I think I saw that movie. Was it on men.com or Pocket Studios?
it's gonna hurt.com.
No, isn't there one called like Guys in
Oh, I have
Public
no
or
idea.
something? I think
I-
it's like something public.
I have no idea.
That makes sense. Stick in the forest, out in public, so it's funny.
Oof.
Do you have one, Fleur?
So I do, but it's like it's the only reason this one comes to mind is because what I said earlier about the Pokédex can't get out of my head.
Okay.
Okay. The one with the handheld Pokédex.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, this is the first time we see the Pokedex actually being used.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the last one, they introduced it, but it was just given to him. This one, we see it. So
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Dude,
All right.
where'd you get that flip phone?
Now we're going to do Hannah Montana episodes. Their episodes were always a play on words with a song title or lyric. So, for example, they had one titled Smells Like Teen Sellout, a reference to Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. So this one I have a fun one.
I got one.
I've got a funny one, okay? The song title I chose is Rockabye Baby Kangaskhan.
Oh.
Do you guys know that song?
Rockabye Baby? Yeah.
No, it's the one where the girl's talking about she's a stripper.
Oh, well, no, I did not know that one.
It's the one that goes, Rockabye Baby, Rockabye. Da, 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 da. Like she's talking like the song she's pretty much saying,
Okay.
I'm gonna do whatever I have to like give you a good life. What, Fleur?
I was thinking of the children's nursery.
No. I'm talking about the stripper song.
No, mine went to the nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the real song.
This is an innocent field.
We're the target audience, okay? The early 90s are the target. If you were born like from 88 to like 94, you're the Pokemon target audience, okay? Let's just be clear about that. But yeah, the song, it's a Rockabye Baby Rockabye. You guys should look it up later. It's kind of a sad song. Beautifully sad. What titles do you guys have?
A freaking stripper.
Have you guys seen that image where it says, "Have you ever seen a chicken strip?" And it's like a chicken stripping.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
I'm kind of picturing Kangaskhan like stripping like that.
Oh, well, that's coming home with me.
Okay.
Rent.
All right, what are your titles for a song reference?
So the one that comes to mind is "Oh Sweet Kang of Mine."
That's cute. I like that.
What's that? What song is that? Like the real one?
"Oh Sweet Child of Mine" by Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, that's cute.
That's super clever. Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
I just like giving all these things, and then I just have like I've already set myself to a standard when it comes to these names.
You know what? Starting with the 4th episode, we're gonna post these on our Facebook page, and people can actually vote on who wins, like the best title per episode. Okay?
Yeah.
Starting with the 4th one. All right, Daramu, what is your song reference?
All right, so we all chose Kangaskhan. So since you've been Kangaskhan,
oh God. This just became a battle of the worst puns, basically.
I will meet y'all in glorious combat.
Well, the great thing is that Pokemon is full of puns. The anime, that is the one thing I do like. Their puns are hilarious. My favorite Pokemon pun ever is when it's raining and Brock pulls out his frying pan.
Oh gosh.
And he says something like, "I'm gonna use my frying pan," and he puts it over his head as a drying pan. I've actually used that joke. I love it so much. I've used that joke. Like if it's raining outside and I have to run out, I get a frying pan, and people like the ones who get the reference, like, dude, really? And I'm like, what? It's a drying pan. All right. The last one is Gossip Girl. Now, Gossip Girl's episode titles are always a reference to a movie. and I'm gonna go first because hopefully you guys aren't using this one. I'm gonna use Kangaskhan Jack, like Kangaroo Jack.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
I don't think anybody saw that one. It was horrible.
Well, yeah, animation back then was shit. So
because it was misleading. You thought it was about a kangaroo. It had nothing to do with the kangaroo. The kangaroo had like a cameo. It was such a misleading movie. I feel bad for all the kids who like made their parents go and they were like, "Where's this damn kangaroo?" Movie titles.
nothing's coming to mind. I think I used up all my freaking brain cells on the other one. So
you want to pass this one?
I would do Kangaskhan and the Trainers as like a Harry and the Hendersons.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's clever.
Because then at the end, he's like, "No, can't you see we don't want you anymore?" And they just push the Kangaskhan back into the forest.
Kangaskhan Trainers, dude, that's clever. I like that one. All right. So now we're gonna do Who's That Pokemon? Now, I know that last time I stumped you guys on like the best one. You guys took forever to guess it. I was sitting here like, really, guys? Like you're on question 200 and you still can't figure out who I'm talking about? Like you guys asked more questions than there are Pokemon in Kanto. So I just stumped you guys, you know?
That's about how I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the wink.
Yeah. La, 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 la. I stumped you guys. But the winner of that one was Daramu because he was able to guess it was Pikachu. So this week, Daramu, it's your turn. You have a Pokemon. We have 20 questions.
I already got it. I'm already ready.
So remember, just to refresh the rules, it has to be a Generation 1 Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
No region, so you can't say a Alolan Raichu. It has to be, and no technicalities, no Togepi, and no Melton or Melmetal. It has to be one of the 150 original ones. All right, 51. Okay.
Yep. I have read the fine print. I have picked my horse. I am ready.
Okay. First question. First question. Is it a horse?
No.
Damn it.
What was the first question?
If it's a horse.
Is it a horse? And the answer was no.
Okay. Is it green?
No.
Okay.
Is it a bug?
No.
Hang on, Fleur, we take turns with the questions. Is it a bug? I'm typing in on the chat what questions we're asking. So when we reach 20, we're done. Okay. Is this Pokemon owned by any of the 3 main trainers in the anime series?
That's hard because I didn't really watch the anime. I'm willing to give you a do-over on that one.
Okay. In the video games, is this Pokemon obtainable in the Viridian City?
In the Viridian City? No.
In the Viridian Forest?
In the Viridian Forest? No.
Okay, Fleur, your turn.
Is it a bird?
No.
Okay. Does this Pokemon have an evolution or a pre-evolution in Generation 1?
Not in Generation 1.
Oh, so it's a standalone Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And he said not in Generation 1, so it could be one of the ones that was added one later. He gave us 2 answers. Boom!
Oh. Is it a grass type?
No.
Okay, I'm trying to think of the ones that don't have.
So it's not a bug. It's not a grass.
Thinking on this one.
Mm.
Is this a Pokemon that you could ride on? And when I say ride, I mean like, is it strong enough to carry the weight of a human?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, okay. Is it Lapras?
No.
I got one. Is it Blastoise?
No.
No, because Blastoise has a Generation 1 evolution line.
Oh, and you said it didn't have an evolution line?
Not in Gen
Not
1
in
is
Gen
what he
1.
said. Uh, is it Snorlax?
Oh.
It is Snorlax.
Yay! I got it. And yes, Ash did have a Snorlax in the anime series.
Okay. I had no idea.
My next guess actually gonna be like a lick of tongue.
That would be pretty on point, yeah. So I was thinking like, okay, even with that answer, you still had like Electabuzz, Jinx, Magmar, Scythe. Like there
Yeah.
was still plenty to pick from.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Good job, everyone.
You didn't stump us quite as bad as I did, but you did pretty well. All right, so the next section is politics, which starting with episode 4, this is going to be the Patreon exclusive, but for the first 3 episodes, we'll discuss it openly.
Yeah.
So for politics, we can discuss anything that we view as kind of like a political reflection of our world, or really gender. So I had something that I kind of wrote down for gender. So I noticed that in the first episode, the the very first male antagonist that we see in episode 1 was Machoke, and he's portrayed as this strong threat to the hero.
Mm-hmm.
But the first female antagonist that we see in this episode, which is Kangaskhan, is portrayed as a typical mother, which is like a generalization that women are somehow always the maternal figure. So that was one thing that I kind of noticed about this one. Now of course I don't want to use the wrong terms, because gender is a spectrum. Wherever you fall on that, that's really your business. But I do feel like some Pokemon, especially cartoons in the 90s, they had characteristics and traits that kind of gave them a more traditional gender kind of like portrayal. Because like we can look at the Machop evolutionary line, and it's traditionally a male's body. You know, it just has that male form to it, as opposed to a Pokemon like Jinx, who has a traditional female body. And I just thought it was kind of interesting how the very first female anything Pokemon just had to be the one that's a mother, and she's
Mm-hmm.
the one protecting her child. And it's like, I would have preferred if the very first female antagonist would have been an actual antagonist.
Yeah.
But just kind of how they always, women are portrayed in a certain way. And of course, the first like real female character that we get has to be a mother, has to be placed in that role,
Oh, yeah.
and that's kind of the one that I noticed. But if you guys noticed another one, or you guys want to expand on that one, go right ahead, feel free.
So with that, it was like it kind of felt like I wouldn't say like a double edged sword, because it wasn't like that, but it was like, yes, she's a mom and stuff like that, and she was placed in this position of, save my baby or whatnot, but it also made it seem like that, yes, she was strong, but she still had like a weakness, and her weakness was her baby. So I feel like she was placed in that little bubble of, yes, you're strong enough to deflect my Pokemon's moves and stuff, but you're weak, quote unquote, because of this baby that you're trying to protect,
Mm-hmm.
So it just relates to just how females are perceived in general, like it's like you can't be strong and protective, and you can't be um you can't be just strong, like there's always something that makes you weaker as a female, weaker as a female. So
Yeah,
because I'm
because
pretty sure if it was a male into a male's perspective, it'd be like, oh well, he's just strong, but he just doesn't want to deal with you right now, you
which,
know
which is basically how they portray the rival.
mm-hmm.
And like I was in the previous one with the character of Machoke. Machoke was just a threat who ultimately his downfall was just losing to a Pokemon that was really strong.
Yeah.
But of course, the female antagonist, her downfall, or if you want to call it that, is, yeah, like you said, she has to protect her baby, and that's all women do. That's all they're good for. And it's one of those things that really kind of irritates me because I love the manga series so much, but I wouldn't have minded if that would have been the story for Kangaskhan, just not so early in the series. Like, give us a real
Mm-hmm.
good female character before you get to that. There are so many great Pokemon that they could have used for this. And it kind of goes with what we were talking about earlier, that Kangaskhan doesn't belong in the Viridian Forest. So it's almost like they broke the rule just to bring in this Pokemon in this part of the region, just to stereotype her as, oh, the mother, because that's what women are in, the media. And
Yeah.
it just, they could have, I mean, we could have seen a Jigglypuff, we could have seen a Clefairy, a Jinx, a Lapras, Pokemon that are more, traditionally feminine, quote unquote. Um, but just the fact that the first one that we see had to be the maternal one, it was kind of bothersome to me. I was like, why does it have to be this way? As much fun as I had with the Rockabye Baby Kangaskhan song reference, because I loved it,
Mm-hmm.
I did kind of view it as like, yeah, but it's again, it just goes back to that women are viewed in a specific manner. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I've noticed.
So I'm actually gonna disagree with
Okay.
all of so the reason why is because we're saying Kangaskhan is like the antagonist for this one, where I didn't really get that at all. I see the rival as the antagonist. He's the one who's making the dick moves. He's the one who's going out of his way to prove that he's better without actually listening to anyone. Whereas when you look at the Kangaskhan is showing a lot of strength, in my opinion, because not only is it protecting its child, but he threw looks like 3 Pokeballs at it and she deflected all of them. So it's very much a situation where she was not going to let him get anywhere near her and that child. She was going to do everything that she was going like within her power to make sure that her child was okay. And the only reason why he is still alive right now was because her child was poisoned. If her child were at full health, she would have had no problem going and beating the hell out of him.
But that's what we were saying. It just feels that her weakness had to be her child. That's kind of what I viewed it as. Like, if it would have just been her being and antagonist was the wrong word. You're right about that. I would say more of the obstacle of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the obstacle just happened to be the first female obstacle, the fact that her weakness alone was my baby, it's just kind of like, why? I mean, come on, they're Pokemon. These are these badass creatures with powers. Why does the feminine one? I mean, yeah, she was strong enough to hold her own, but at the end of the day, the main plot of the whole chapter was still that she was a mother. you know? And it's like you don't really see this often with a male character or a male Pokemon. It's just you see it more so with the women, and that's kind of where I feel like it just does that where men and women are kind of like placed into individual bubbles of, you know, men do this, women do this. And that was kind of like my takeaway from that. But no, you're right. It was the wrong choice of words by saying antagonist. It was more of the obstacle.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like, yeah, she definitely was like taking time to defend her child, but even when she was defending her child, I don't see that as like a moment of weakness or anything. Like, I see that as like a lot of strength. Like, if you're willing to sit there and let people pound on you just to make sure your children are okay, like that's something. And you know, I don't know. Like, I definitely agree that women get put into a certain role when it comes to like media, TV, anime, manga. Like, they definitely get, you know, downplayed a lot. But I don't think this is one of those cases. Like, I don't see this as like the beach episode you would normally see on any generic anime. Like, this is literally, you know, he came up on this mother trying to protect her child, and it just showcases him as being a douche. So and that's how I took it.
With you on that, you know, I like, I'm not always just, you know, set in certain ways, you know, but that was my perspective on it. But I see your perspective on it as well, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess that was kind of like a two-way mirror kind of thing, you know, because in a way, yes, Daramu's right. She's a strong Pokemon, you know, she is strong and stuff like this, stuff like that. And she is, you know, just here to protect her baby. And she is strong enough to deflect all these attacks and deflect all these Pokeballs, and then just trying just to go about her day, you know. It's like she didn't have to prove, oh, you know, like she didn't have to prove anything, but just to protect her baby. So I do agree with you on that. I can see that.
Yeah. And it's like I said, I like that storyline for Kangaskhan because of the Pokemon, the lore surrounding that Pokemon. I just don't know if I liked it this early on by it being the first female obstacle that we really see. That's all I'm saying. If this would have been the storyline for the Safari Zone chapter, spoiler alert, I would have been all for it. But just the fact that it's the first female obstacle and she had to be placed in the maternal category, it's like that was all I'm saying. I mean, like I said, it could
Okay.
It's more of they could have chosen a different Pokemon.
Well, okay, so if we're gonna choose a different Pokemon, like, would you have preferred like a group of Pikachus and maybe like the father Pikachu's trying to protect his baby? Like,
no,
what would you have
I mean,
preferred for a situation like this?
I mean, honestly,
Or have just preferred level 9 Pidgey.
Yeah, let's keep it true to the facts. A level 9 Pidgey.
I mean, honestly, even if this would have been a storyline where like he encounters a really powerful Pidgeot, and we later find out that Pidgeot actually has like an injured leg or something, that would have been fine with me. It's because that would have kind of made a little more sense. For me, it's just, yeah, it's the maternal Pokemon, so let's make her the maternal.
It was more of like the timing for it, not really like the Pokemon itself. Like, but I do agree with you on that. Like, they could have. I feel like so they are out here trying to catch all these strong Pokemon, become better trainers and stuff like that. Maybe they should have just put in like a Growlithe, you know, like something that you can see them more like Red trying to catch his very first Pokemon, the right after he's gotten his Bulbasaur, maybe trying to use his Bulbasaur
like,
to catch his like first little Pokemon, which I know Growlithe wouldn't be in the freaking forest. I get that, but
well, like if you had a Growlithe with like an injured leg and the rival is still like, no, I'm gonna do this, and he's attacking him, and Red has to step in to be like, no, you're being a dick. He's got an injured leg. Like,
yeah,
I could see how that could easily be inserted into this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was really the one political aspect that I really had to point out in this one. Did you guys have any others that you guys noticed or wanted to address?
No,
Yeah, this one was pretty short. So like I honestly took this one at face value. Like I
Yeah.
didn't try to deep dive too much into it. It's like, okay, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then moving on to the next section. So the next section, what we're gonna do is every single episode, we're gonna give it a rating, okay, of on
Okay.
a scale of 1 to 5. Now you can pretty much say whatever you want in terms of like, for example, I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna say, surprisingly, for being how short it is, I actually really enjoyed this one, just because I felt it was such a good representation of who these characters are. It was very short, but honestly, despite how short it is, I could see this being a very interesting episode to watch. So I'm gonna give it out of 5. I'm gonna give this one 3.5 syringes as a rating.
Ooh.
So you can choose whatever item, whatever Pokemon, whatever you want to use to like say what rating you are. So I'm gonna say 3.5 syringes for this one. So what do you guys review this one?
I think I would say for myself, just I guess just 3, just potions. Just full
Potion?
heal, 3 full heals.
3 full heals?
Three
Mine
full hills.
All right.
Um,
Daru?
I was gonna go with 3 empty Pokeballs. Reason being, yeah, it was it got its point across. If
Yeah.
this were like an animated anything, I would have it on as background noise. I wasn't too invested. I wasn't too thrilled. Like it got the point across. I appreciate them for that. 3 empty Pokeballs for me.
Three.
Okay.
So we're pretty much on the greens that it's like somewhere in
Yeah.
3.5. Okay.
The only reason I gave it that is because I felt like it was just, yes, it got straight to the point, but it was just too short, compared to the previous chapter. There was a little bit more going on. This was more of like, uh, the rival trying to catch a Pokemon and then Rez just coming in like, no, leave it alone. Boom, done,
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah. But I do think as an episode, they could totally stretch this out to be like a really good episode. I just think overall they could stretch this out. But
Oh
of course,
yeah, get a couple good scenic shots, call it a day.
they
Oh,
no, they could add some like additional scenes, some stories, a little more dynamics between the two characters. But no, I really enjoy this one. All right, so now we're moving on to the next section. And for this one, we're doing the next episode clue. So this will be a little more interesting starting with the next one. So what I'm gonna do is, and I can't post it on the chat room because I don't have the rights to the artists that draw these. But basically what I'm gonna do is I have an image saved for each one, and I'm gonna send this to you guys on the messenger chat room. And
So I'm sorry, I accidentally misunderstood the assignment and I already read the next one. I thought we were doing 2 tonight, so I have to sit this part out.
no worries. But I sent an image, and this image kind of has a clue as to what the next chapter is about. So you'll sit this one out, Daramu, but you can look at it, Flare. So based on this image, what do you think episode 3 is going to be about? Well, first of
what
all,
can I
yeah. What do you
for
see in
anything?
the image?
Huh?
What do you see in
Well,
the
he's gonna get a Pikachu.
I
Like, it's
know.
just simple as that. But also, this is giving like, oh man, what is the word I'm looking for?
So it's basically, for our listeners, it's basically an image of Trainer Red, and he's holding up a Pikachu, and they just look so cute together, so charismatic. They just, they just, their chemistry just works for me.
It together or something. I don't know.
So your guess is that the next episode is going to be the Pikachu episode.
Yes.
All right, Daramu, is that what you would have guessed by this image?
By that image, yes, I would have definitely guessed that the next one is the Pikachu episode.
Yes. So that one, as you guys know, I'm excited about because I love Pikachu. I know some people can't stand him, but I love Pikachu. Okay, so now now the next section is the predictions and hopeful storylines, where you tell me based on today's episode what you think is going to happen or what you hope will happen. So I can kind of tell you guys that when I was first reading this, I'm going back in time here to the first time I ever read these chapters. I wanted to see more of a friendship between Red and the rival, but I also wanted to see a lot of the pettiness before they became friends. So when I was reading it, I was enjoying it, but I was like, no, I really want to see them being bitchy to each other before they become friends. I need to see the bitchiness. That
So just
my hope.
based off of what I know from the games, one thing I do want to see is their battle at the SS Anne.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because there were things that happened in the game that you kind of pick up on for the rest of the game, and I want to see if they follow pretty true to that. So that's what I'm really, really looking forward to, is that battle and seeing how it unfolds after.
Okay. Uh, of course, I won't spoil anything, but we'll see what plays out.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next section we can't do yet. It's the audience feedback. We will start doing that with the fourth episode. And then the final section is the one that we still can't do, the Patreon information. That'll come later once we have a more established fan base. And yes, I do spell Patreon like the evolutions. Patreon.
My husband would appreciate that.
So I want our Pokemon canon to be called Pokemon Canon Patreon and just have like maybe a cute Eevee wearing like a Pokemon Canon hat or something. Just that'll be the artwork for that. But yeah, that is the conclusion of our podcast episode for episode 2, chapter 3. And in the next one, we will be reviewing chapters 4 and 5, which I feel makes sense as a whole episode.
Okay.
And that is going to be the last one that I do the recap for, and the last one that I'm going to do the episode summary, because we'll be rotating at that point. So hopefully you guys are ready for that. Whoever gets assigned to first, all right? All right. Well, as usual, thank you guys for listening to our podcast. This has been Sir Serrato.
Hi, Daramu. Bye. Sorry, I got caught off guard.
And of course is Fleur.
Our Hogwarts champion. All right. Well, you guys have a good night, and thank you to all of our listeners.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.